Hello, welcome back to the conclusion of lesson 2, the continent puzzle. You were asked to do those analysis questions, and so I want to go over those answers with you and just make sure you came up with the right answers. So, question number 1 asks you to describe what has happened to land on the surface of the earth over the past 425 million years. So you were supposed to just mention that the land masses have moved and they've changed shape. So if you look at diagrams, they didn't just move, but they kind of looked a little bit different. So the bullet points, I always add extra. That's just some extra information. You don't have to include that in your notebook if you don't want to. But about 425 million years ago, some of the precursors of today's continents were joined in a large landmass known as Gondwana, which is another one of my favorite science words. And then between 425 to 230 million years ago, all of that land joined together to make Pangaea. And then since then, Pangaea has broken apart to form what we see today. And they're still moving. So the continents are constantly changing shape a little bit, being destroyed in some places and formed in others. And they are changing their longitude and latitude on the maps. So I'm going to show you a video here at the end of going over these analysis questions, and it will kind of talk about where those continents are headed. Okay? The next question was that there were 7 continents and 7 puzzle pieces, but not every puzzle piece represented a continent. So remember, there were only 6 land masses, 7 continents. So why do you think that is? So the answer was that, kind of where I took you in the introduction, that Europe and Asia have been a part of a single landmass for a really long time, approximately 230 million years. So they get one piece. The continent of Asia is formed, though, from 2 landmasses. So the part that's connected to Europe and India. So India had its own little piece. So that's important. Since the Indian landmass broke apart from Pangaea separately and crashed into Asia and made the Himalayan mountains, it got its own piece. So I think that is really important. So at the very least, make sure that your answers say that Europe and Asia are one single landmass and that India got its own piece because it moves so differently from the rest of the land masses. Okay? So India plays a big role in a part of the evidence for continental drift. Number 3 asks, what types of evidence did the puzzle provide about changes on the Earth's surface? And if you look at that chart that we looked at, plus the pictures on the pieces themselves that I moved around for you, the 3 types of evidence were fossil distribution, where those fossils were found, mountain ranges with similar rock layers in them, and then the shape and position of the continents. So that's a really important question too. I would make sure that you have that written down. You'll see that one again. Okay, so if you didn't get it, make sure you add it to your notebook. 4B asked that Pangaea began to break apart about 200 to 225 million years ago. What time period was this? So if you think back to your geologic time scale, and I'm wondering how many of you actually thought to go back and look at that chart. I know probably some of you did. You would find that Pangaea actually broke apart during the Mesozoic period. And just to refresh your memory, the Mesozoic period was our period of our big dinosaurs. So I know that we talked about how climate change caused by the asteroid killed off the dinosaurs and caused that mass extinction, but this wasn't going to help them either. So the fact that those reptiles that need warm climate, when Pangaea was all together, they were clustered around the equator and the climate was much warmer. As the continents started to shift apart, their climates were going to change, irregardless of the asteroid. So some of those dinosaurs probably would have went extinct due to climate change anyhow, just because of continental drift. Okay. All right. 4C says, which of the extinct organisms listed in the table below lived on Pangaea before it broke apart? So if Pangaea, we just said, didn't break apart until 200 to 225 million years ago, all of these animals lived on Pangaea before it broke apart, which makes sense. Because look, you have a fern plant, which we said is a warm plant, and then 3 reptiles. And I just talked about how, when Pangaea was together, you're closer to the equator and the climate would have been much warmer. So it makes sense that all of those organisms were able to survive in a warmer climate on Pangaea, but as it broke apart and climate changed, that would be a reason for them to go extinct, and why we find their fossils in such weird places. Okay, so we're at a spot where it's pretty short. I don't have a task for you to do. Nothing that's graded for sure. Tomorrow we are going to start lesson 3, which talks a little bit more about continental drift and how we got to there and what some of the other evidence is. So I want you to, assuming that most of you did this on Friday or over the weekend, I am going to give you that video. It's actually called The Whole Saga of the Supercontinents. And it's kind of a review of what we did last week, and it'll kind of give you some extra information in there that's pretty interesting. And it's one of those PBS videos, so they're done pretty well, and I think that you probably should be, I'm hoping, enjoying them. And then tomorrow we'll catch up, and you'll actually have to we'll move on to the next thing, and there'll be something else for you to do. So for today, just make sure that your answers are correct in your notebook. If you need to go back in the video, you can do that. And then watch the little video clip. It's about 10 minutes, okay? And I will check in with you guys again tomorrow. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.